Hey everyone, welcome back to the Tres Jolie channel and my channel, whichever one you are watching this on. I am getting ready to work on my third project using this month's Cards, Tags, and More kit. And I'm just going to go over, I have my sequins left. I have 4 of those flowers left, which I don't think are going to be on this project. The leaf chipboard, stamps, and the die, and pieces that had already been cut, a few whole pieces left. And I am going to use these pieces. Well, these pieces and these pieces from my stash to create the envelope gift mini album. The cut file is number, let's see if it'll focus there. Maybe if I do that. Number 240883. There, almost there. Now it's in focus. The envelope gift mini album. It is a Paige Evans cut file from the Silhouette store, and I already have my pieces cut out. I have, this is the outside, this is the inside envelope, and the 2 pieces of paper I used are both Paige Taylor Evans papers. And the outside was from the Turn the Page line, number 8. And the inside envelope was page 19. I don't think it had a line. If it does, it's not on here. So that's my bases. And I pulled out from my stash because, well, I needed the larger pieces. This one was so close. And then I used, and that little strip is that same piece there. Okay, and then I used 1, 2, 3, because this paper is it's the same one, just cut in half. There you go. So 3 pieces of the paper to cut out all of the panels for my envelope album. I'm going to peel these off carefully real quick. Okay, I have my pieces ready. It was a new cutting mat, so it was very sticky. Got some curls going around in here. And now for I'm going to kind of try to get my folds ready before I talk about my final plan. Well, there it is. Just going to try to get these a little more visible here. Okay, my outside. Now, because it's going to be getting folded, and I'm basically going to cover the whole thing with plastic, you can use a page protector. That's the word I was looking for. Page protector. And one of the ways I was thinking of, see if I go like this, and put it down in here, I could actually get a doubled thing going. Doubled thing? Is that making any sense? Lots of places for adding some shaker pieces. Or another thing would be, if you wanted to do one side, not that one, this was one of those zippy bags that the kits come in quite often. It is a strong plastic and very flexible. So you could easily lay one or more of these out over your paper here. I am going to put this in here like so. And I'm going to start sewing it a little bit at a time, I guess I should say. I kind of want it away from the edges, because after I get it in place, then I am going to then I'll trim. So first, and I'll do this in stages, I'm going to sew along this bottom real quick. Yeah, I'm going to sew along this bottom real quick. I'm kind of trying to work it out in my head. And up the sides. Ooh, actually, yeah, I'll do that. Alright, so, what color thread? I think I'm just going to go with some plain white thread for this. So I'm going to go start making my double-sided pockets on this. Alright, I don't know why I said double-sided pockets. It's only going to be, this is going to be the outside of the envelope. So I'm going to try to hold this up here. You can see I have one flap done. Although I do like using this page protector because it helps catch any extras while I'm working. Obviously it can't be double-sided because this will be the inside pieces. So what I did, I'm going to hopefully try to explain this, is I sewed along 3 sides and then dumped in some of the bits and pieces there and carefully kind of made sure they were out of the way before I finished sewing up that pocket. And I am going to do the same for the other flaps. I'm going to do it here and here, and let me think. I don't think I'm going to do it on the fold-in parts. Just these last 2. I'll sew 3 sides, put a handful of the sequins and beads and buttons in, and then do the 4th side. Do 3 sides here, and then put a handful of the sequins and beads and buttons in and finish it off. And then I will come back and remove my excess plastic. And there you have it. I have 3 pockets here. to add some nice rattling there. And I am going to just use some scissors to start cutting away the extra bits of plastic. Alright, I should have done this beforehand, but I'm going to do it now. And I'm just going to use my craft knife to slit through the plastic that is on the other side of these little slices here, so I can add in the little strip here, so you can see how that will go. Well, let me kind of show how things are looking right now. Like that. I almost have my outside all ready to go. I am going to fold up the envelope and get it ready and in center, because I kind of want to work in this in stages so that hopefully I won't make a boo-boos. Hopefully, at least not too many. So I'm going to kind of start assembly. I'm going to get my envelope in here. I'm going to close that before I cut myself. I'm going to get my envelope in here and then add in my panels. Alright, before I get going too much on adding those panels, I sewed along the top slit here because it's just on the inside of the envelope. Trim those up a bit. But, because as you can see right there, those sequins do like to try to fall out of that plastic. So, if I had been thinking, I would have done this a little bit ahead of time, but I'm okay. I am going to use some, I think I'm going to use this Fabri-Tac. And I'm going to glue that slit shut so it doesn't interfere, and I'm putting it on a spatula so I can spread it around like that and clean it up, and hopefully that will just hold that little bottom bit shut there. And so now I'm going to go back to adding in all my little panels and getting this ready to just get finished being put together. I have managed to get all of those panels on, so you can see how it's looking, how it will close up like so. And I'm going to work on a couple of additions for holding my envelope closed. No, I'm just going to do it on the outside, I think. On the wrap around, I have one started. Now let me kind of get this. I want to leave it kind of loose so that after the embellishments are put in and pictures, it won't be too tight. Oh, there they are. I forgot what I was doing. So I'm just gonna clip this down closed. Kind of while I work on my adjustments there. So I'm going to first, I have an itty bitty magnet right there. And I'm going to add, I already have my bow most of the way put together. I didn't want to fold it all the way over yet. Oh, actually I can. Alrighty, I know what I'm doing. Honestly, I know what I'm doing. I'm going to finish gluing my bow together. Like so. And then add this part of the bow onto it. Oh, yeah. Like so. And I'm going to clip that together real quick with a smaller binder clip. Just so that that glue can set up while I talk about the rest of my idea. I have little magnets, and I already have one right here, and I'm going to trim off this little bit of excess, just a hair to start. I might take off more, it depends. And I'm going to I let the magnet go to the one that's already on there so that I will be able to line it up. And I'm going to start that with some, I'm going to put my little dab of E6000, and I'm only doing that because of the metal. I want to make sure that the glue sticks to the magnet good. I'm just going to kind of spread it around. And I'm going to loosely, not tightly, loosely just put my paper in place. Kind of line it up a bit there. And let it sit. I'm going to weigh this down as soon as I find, there we go. I'm going to weigh them down. So that I'm going to weigh it down so that doesn't happen. Like so. And let that E6000 set up on those strips before I continue. Alright, my E6000 set up, and I decided to add a second magnet because these are smaller and lightweight magnets. Even though a single magnet was holding it closed, the slightest little bump would cause it to pop open. So I added a second one. And now I think I'm just going to pop on over to my sewing machine and add some stitching here and there on some of the edges of the flaps, even along the edges that have already been sewn on this side. I did end up adding some zigzag stitching at this bottom slot because the glue didn't really want to hold down really well, and I kept having sequins slide out. So I added some stitching there, and now that's all good to go. But I'm going to go add just little sections of some zigzag stitching on the edges of these side flaps and a little bit on the edges of the top and bottom flaps. And then once that stitching is done, I'm going to come back and start adding some of the doilies that had been die cut, some stamping, I think, either stamping directly onto it or I'll stamp onto some of the cardstock pieces and add it in. And just add a little bit of embellishments and glue my bow on, and I'm very close to getting done. Just a few of the smaller details and embellishments to add in. I have my stitching all completed all around everything there. I'm going to set that up to the side because I'm going to work on one of these leaf chipboard pieces. Now I trimmed off a little bit of it so that it would fit right against that edge there, kind of angled on the envelope flap. But before I put it on, I am going to give it a coating with some white gesso, add some picket fence distress paint, and top it with some salvaged patina embossing glaze. Now all of these are from my stash, but I think that it'll work out kind of nicely there. So I'm going to work on that real quick and then just glue it on to that envelope flap. Okay, upon adding in my little leaves there, I discovered, oh, and I added just a little magnet for this envelope flap. But I did discover, due to that extra thickness, let me get these out of the way, original magnets, because they're so lightweight, they don't necessarily want to hold. So, to try to help remedy that, I am going to just add extras. Like, I guess I'll just keep kind of trying to strengthen up my magnets until I can create enough hold to make it not do that. So if you're doing this, use stronger magnets. I'm starting to think I should have used some ribbon through here instead of a paper closure. Then I could have just tied it. But I have what I have right now, so I'm going to try to work with what I have and start by adding a little bit extra oomph to my closure. Maybe on top to hold it through. That might work. Kind of create a magnet sandwich. Maybe I can create a magnet sandwich. I'll add some here. And then do this. And let's see how that will work. Actually, that seems to be working. That's what I'm going to do. I don't know. I think I pulled this out of some box. I don't know where the other one came from. It's not one of these because I have an even amount missing. These are just apparently random magnets that I have. So I'm going to do the same thing. Use my E6000. Glue these in place, and hopefully this magnet sandwich will work for me. After thinking and thinking and thinking and realizing that this was going to drive me nuts, just this paper, I decided I'm going to put a couple of hidden buttons underneath. I'm going to kind of move my shaker parts around so that I can poke some holes down here, around in here, and a couple in here, and that's just so that I'll be able to sew through it easier. I'll poke holes first. A couple of buttons from the little cube there, and some pink and white baker's twine from my stash to just wrap. And then I decided that way those buttons and that twine will take the strain of holding this closed, and then this will just be decorative. And I think that's going to make me feel a lot better about everything holding up. This has worked out exactly like I hoped it would. I added buttons to this flap with a little bit of the baker's twine for that. I even used the baker's twine instead of the white thread to stitch them on, just so that it would match in here. It wasn't easy threading it through. I kind of had to unwind and put each strand of the thread, the baker's twine, through very carefully, but I got it to work. And now with this extra bit of hidden closure, my paper bow just works more as a decorative element, like so. So I decided to add in some, this is just some very thin linen hinging tape, and I just covered the magnets around there. And then I decided I think I'm going to kind of add a bit up at the top and the bottom where it constantly bends, just to give it a little bit of stability. And I am just going to cut it down to size and stick it on, not covering up the whole paper, just adding a bit to the hingy part. Alright, I have finally made it to doing the final embellishments. I'm happy with how this has strengthened up. I'm happy with how I got the closure to finally work out. So I'm just going to go through. I have some of these that are cut from my previous projects, a few like that, and a few that have that adhesive sheet on one side. So I'm just going to kind of play around and see how I want to add just a little bit here and there, possibly covering up the back side of where those buttons were sewn in, and just add my finishing touches. And I may just come back and stamp with the, there we go, salvaged patina, distress oxide, to go with the salvaged patina embossing glaze. So right now is just going to be kind of playing around and seeing where I want to add just little touches. My little envelope gift mini album is complete and just ready for photos and memorabilia to be added in. I didn't add as much as I thought I would to the insides. I started going and I got to a point and stopped. I added some of the doily cuts on here, a corner of one over here. I left this just blank and ready for photos to be added, photos, notes, ticket stubs to be added. And then on the front side or back side, I don't know, anyways, on this side of these two flaps, I just used my salvaged patina distress oxide and this frame stamp, and I just stamped one side of it, eyeballed it, and put it down into place. And it was when I added these that I decided there really doesn't need to be anything else added, in my opinion, because the rest of it can just be covered with photos. And if in the future, when photos do get added, it'll be very easy to come back with matching inks or embossing powders or embellishments and add to the album, or to help hold the photos in place. So I hope that you enjoyed this project and it gave you some ideas of what can be done with items from this month's cards, tags, and more kit. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and turn on notifications so you will always be up to date on any projects that get released or the reveal videos at the beginning of each month. And I will see you again soon.